Hi, I'm Waheeda Sulaman. I'm a software engineer here at LI-COR Environmental, and today I'm going to talk to you about the 6800, our photosynthesis system. When you power on the instrument and you have a fluorometer attached, this is the screen that will appear first to you. The GUI is arranged with a top-level menu, a status bar, that'll give you various indications of the version of software you're running and any battery status, in addition to warnings and alerts. The top menu is meant to guide you through setting up your 6800 for whatever experiment you want. In the first menu is Startup. Under Startup, the first thing you'll see is your chamber setup. This is where depending on what you have attached, you will have various options for the flow of measurements that you want to take. On this setup, we have a fluorometer. There are a couple of options associated with the fluorometer, and you can see those. And depending on the chamber, they will have different options. Below chamber setup is peripheral setup. Peripheral setup is for any light sources or other extras you would like to attach. We have a headlight source. There is a console user I/O that you can set up, and then a console light source. Below the peripheral setup is configurations. Configurations are the state of your graphs, your plots, your settings for the CO2, etc. There are various ones that you can save and restore from a file. And this is where you would do that. You can load a configuration, or you can save whatever you have now. And this is where you will manage them. Below configurations is warm-up tests. Warm-up tests are tests that can be performed and rated as pass or fail to let you know how your console, fluorometer, or other attached peripherals are functioning. And so you can see we have a lot to choose from. And then if you select a warm-up test, you will see the last time it was run and what the results were. Below warm-up tests is the data dictionary. The data dictionary can be very useful if you're wondering what a particular piece of data you're looking at might be. So if I looked at this variable that's labeled ADYN, I can see everything about it. I can see its current value. I can see what topic it comes from and its units and a brief description of it. Below the data dictionary are the system settings. These are general settings for the 6800, including testing your audio, the display, what preferences you want for the keyboard or number pad, and saving a system snapshot, which can be useful for you in science support if you have any questions about how your system was operating. System settings has the clocks and whatever date and time you're in, time zones, and then just some general information about the console software. Below system settings is standby power off. Here's where in a couple of presses you can turn off all the pumps and put your console to sleep. This is also where, apart from the hard power on and off button, you can also power off the 6800 system. Under constants, this is where various variables that have a relatively stable value are listed and broken up into groups for you to edit and view. So here we have system. These are gas exchange constants such as leaf area and geometry, preferences for how to calculate that leaf area. If you have a fluorometer, you can use this little calculator to get that. Here we have leaf temperature, leaf light, dynamic constants, range matching, and user constants. So these are ones that you can add to your log files as you wish. Under the environment menu, this is where the control of the water, the flow, the fan, the temperature can all be found. And so We have under flow the ability to turn flow on and off and see in real time how the flow is affecting the various tubing paths in the console to the chamber and in the head. Same for water, CO2, the fan, temperature, and light. Now, light is a broad topic, a broad category on this setup, since there is also a fluorometer. So you have the fluorometer options here too, if you want to just use it simply like a light source. But you'll see that fluorometry has its own tab at the top, so for more control over fluorometry operations. Under auto controls, this is where you could kind of program a sequence of environmental controls to operate over a length of time. You can set the CO2, water, the light, flow, fan, or temperature to run at a certain program. Under fluorometry, we have a lot of details. So you can see under live, this is the current profile of the fluorometer as it's operating. Under settings, you can configure it, what kind of flash or pulse you would like your fluorometer to execute. Under the computational parameters, these are kind of like constants that are used to calculate your fluorometry results. Same with the results of those calculations will be shown on this computations. The event folder, so this is where you can look at previous fluorometer flashes that you have executed on. So you can just select a day where maybe you have a fluorometer event and plot them. If you have events you want to compare, you can do that here by adding files from those days and comparing them on these plots, or a table, or a fit. And then you have the fluorometer utilities. This allows you to do little tests to see how your fluorometer is operating and if you need to make any adjustments. Measurements. This is like a real-time view of what is being measured at any instant on the console, and it will also and any attached peripherals. So you have plots that you can set up and grids of data that you can view. You can edit the plots. You can select what variables you want plotted, how you want it scaled, and the color and any symbols you like. And you can also edit the grid. You can change the layout. You can change what variables are plotted in whichever position you want, 1 through 8, and in any of the spots. And to do that, you would just select it, use this dictionary, select whatever item you wanted to appear there instead, and then that's all you would need to do. This ... means that there are other options, and so you can clear the current graph, you can clear all the graphs, you could mark a graph or mark all the graphs. This little tab here is very important. It's where the ability to match the ergas and that functionality is placed. And so you have auto match and manual match for matching. It also tells you the last time you matched and how that performed. log setup. Under log setup is where your options for how your log files will be the names and how long you will log for them. So under stability, you have several criteria for logging. There's logging options. So here's where you can set up whether you want to log to an Excel file, you want to have a prompt, use additional averaging time, have a beep, and automatically name new files. And if you have an existing file, whether to overwrite or append or always ask you. Under matching, this is where matching behavior can be defined for water and CO2. So when you're logging, you can either never match, you can always match, or you can only match if this criteria that you fill in or is pre-filled in is met. Fluorometer options. So on a log, you can tell the 6800 what fluorometer actions you would like, what kind of flashes you want. And so when you're under the log setup, you've kind of created all you've filled in all the criteria and options that you want in your logging, and then finally you get to open a log file. So this is where you can either just create a new log file, or you can select an existing log file to open. And if you have an open log file, this is where under log remark, this is where you could append a remark to that log file. So here's an example of making a new log file. That log file name looks fine with me. Say I'm done, and now I am able to log to a log file. If I wanted to write a comment, I could easily do that. Under programs, this is where we have automated functionality built in that can run by selecting a program. So there's various pre-built ones here for you under this tab. So let's say I wanted to do a CO2 response program. So this program would, when I started it, loop over various target values that are specified here, weights for stability, allow matching, and I could go ahead and hit start, and this program would run. If I wanted to build my own programs, there are several pages here and a lot of options for doing that yourself under BP Builder, BP Output, and BP Monitor. Tools. Tools are where you can view and analyze log files on the console that you've already created. Manage files. This is where you can copy files to a USB, or from a USB, you can manage what you have, get rid of files you don't want, and if you want to restore or back up any files. Diagnostics. Here's a quick at-a-glance view of the CO2, water, and flow diagnostics. If a diagnostic value appears out of range, the value will be colored, and there may be a brief comment kind of explaining what you may need to do. Calibrations. This is where you would go if you need to zero your ergas, zero your flow, do any spanning, or if you just want to look at the calibration history. factory. These are your factory calibrations. These are what come to you from LI-COR, where we calibrate this instrument. Connections. This gives you an overview of what head is connected to this console. It gives you network information on the console itself or on the head or fluorometer that it's connected to. Find task. This tab can be very useful for quick answers or quickly where to find things on the console. So for example, if I wanted to know where do I set the time, I can quickly enter in a little search term and filter the list, and I can see all of the results that have something to do with time. So set date, time, and time zone. I would go to Startup, System Settings, Time and Date. The log button on the top that you see here lets you know that you have a log file open and there are currently no points being logged. If I press the log button, I can log what I'm measuring right now, and the number will increment. When I want to close a log, I'll go back to log setup, logging to, close the log. And now I see that little log button has gone away. And so from the top through to tools and downwards, options are arranged to hopefully allow you to set up and configure your 6800 to log the data you need. That was an overview of the software on the 6800 system. We have more resources on our support website, and if you need anything or have any other questions, go ahead and contact us.